What is up? Welcome into this beautiful Thursday morning edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Kyle, we got a great show.
It's a hurricane watch, but you know what? We're in studio. Mike's looking dapper. I got the polka dot shirt on. You can't see it from there, but this is white with polka dots.
We had our first hurricane experience.
Yeah, wild-ish.
Wild. It was, we were outside on my balcony. The wind's just like whipping. It was kind of, a dog was kind of freaking out there with us. But we saw lightning that was red last night. There was like tornado warnings. It was something.
We put up all of our Halloween stuff yesterday because we discussed, was it too early to put it on? It was a trick question. Lige said, no, it's not. So we put our stuff up yesterday. And then I immediately started to feel the wind. And I was like, our ghosts are going to blow away. But
you had them outside?
My wife, 50-pound sandbags under all of the stuff. I went out last night to go move it, and I couldn't. I wasn't strong enough. Kate thinking ahead. So
yeah, we had taken all our furniture from outside. So it was wild.
Our first hurricane.
But we're not
canceled though.
So hopefully people who are like more in the direct path, hoping for everything to go the best. But yeah, it was kind of wild. So first hurricane experience, survivors here.
I only cried a little bit.
We have our full preview on today's show. But in our first off the ball segment, we wanted to touch on this because yesterday we usually don't dip into the college ranks. We'll obviously talk some draft more closer to draft season. But there was some NIL nonsense going down a day ago. If you guys want here's a full breakdown for you if you're not up to speed on the timeline. We had UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka, who was reportedly by himself, claimed was offered $100,000 to transfer there this past year. They're 3-0. They're doing well. He claims now, and not a lot of people refuting this, that he's only been paid $3,000 of that $100,000. So he said, I'm going to take my ball and go home. Says he's going back into the transfer portal, leaving, using his redshirt year, because until you play 4 games, you can still take that redshirt year. So saying taking a redshirt year, the starting quarterback of a successful college football team for the first time, I guess, in college football history here, is saying in the middle of the season that he's just going to transfer, which that's wild enough. But then we had this. Brendan Marion, OC for UNLV. His agent is Carl Reed, who works for 247 Sports, tweeted out all financial commitments for UNLV QB Matthew Sluka were completely met. So a guy who's acting as an independent reporter here.
Do they have receipts?
Kind of working as a mouthpiece. So it's still being worked out what actually is going down
At the end of the day, what does the paper trail tell you? And I mean, we knew when these NIL things started first coming about that there was going to be some gray area. There's going to be some really crappy things that went down. Obviously, it's good that guys are getting paid. But at the end of the day, these guys aren't meant to be doing contracts. These guys aren't reading legal paperwork and figuring out exactly when they're due, what they're due, why they're due, the amounts of money they are. They're promised things like when you go on a recruiting trip, we promise you you're going to be the starting quarterback, or we promise you can wear number 69.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? In this case, they promised him 6 figures. They gave him 4K, and they say, that's it, homeboy. So, I mean, my advice to these guys, get somebody who knows how to read contracts. Get an agent. It's worth it. And also, my other thought, maybe a non sequitur. Stop repeating years. Stop doing gray shirts, red shirts. Your earning potential goes down in the National Football League when you come in as a 24, 25-year-old. Yeah, so your clock's ticking. Let's get out of the college ranks and start making some real bread.
The other notable, Bear Alexander, a guy who, when I was doing my top 100 list preseason, he's a redshirt sophomore at USC. I had him right at the back end of my top 100. 3 games in, he's played all right. Not anything special. Was probably not going to raise his draft stock based off what I've seen. Well, he says I'm going to redshirt and go to the highest bidder again this offseason. And that's now dating back to high school. The man's been at 7 different programs since the start of his freshman year. I think these are some of the...
in high school?
Yes.
Wow.
These are tragedies in my opinion.
Transferring in high school, too.
Of the current football landscape and what it's done to kind of commoditize these... I guess down to 15-year-olds all the way up to 21-year-olds, where it's like they are not getting the best advice. There are people in the ears of these guys who are uber talented telling them things that they really should not be, because you should not be chasing the one paycheck. $100,000 in college is not what you should be chasing. If you are as talented a guy, like a 5-star like Bear Alexander, you need to have a little bit longer term thinking at this. And we're going to see more and more of this. Unfortunately, these guys who just bounce around from spot to spot because anytime they're a little unhappy, someone else is going to give me that better opportunity. Someone else is going to do this little more thing. I think we're doing these kids a disservice a lot of them, to even have this as an option for them to just keep going program to program to program from high school to college. I just, if you're an NFL team and you see this guy and his history, that's about the biggest red flag you can see for a prospect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, I had a really bright young baseball coach who told me every time you do something stupid, every time you make a bad decision, you're writing somebody a check down the road. So for these young guys, go to a program where you trust the coach, where you think that there's going to be some continuity there with the staff. Go somewhere where you think you can improve as a football player. Obviously, you want to look at the main things: location. Is it a nice town? Are you going to win football games? But at the end of the day, you pick a school and you stay there unless something happens where it's obvious that you should transfer. If you get taken over as the starter going into your junior or senior year and the clock's ticking, yes, we understand that some guys, there are reasons for this transfer portal to be kosher and reasons that it does work well. But at the end of the day, if I'm a coach and I see you switching, jumping ship every year, if something doesn't go exactly your way, I don't want you on my team. I want the guy who bled, sweat, and cried with his one group for 4 or 5 years sometimes on my team.
Yeah, I think look no further than Arch Manning, who obviously is getting some very good advice in his corner from how do you make it to be the end destination, which is, Super Bowl winning quarterback, right? That's what those guys want. When you're that 5-star, 4-star prospect, that position, they told him to go to a place, or I guess he chose to go to a place where he wasn't going to be the starter for the first 2 years.
But he liked the coach. He liked the coach. Town.
And he thought it was a place where he could develop. And that is far more important than, again, I know $100,000 is a lot of money to people, but that won't last long.
We heard the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, last week, talking about the difference between guys now going into the league and guys now, or back in the day, going into the league. These guys are coming off of teams. They've been on 4 or 5 teams. They haven't been in a program. Mm-hmm. You haven't been able to develop that camaraderie. Maybe you don't know how to be a good teammate yet. If you're only there for 6 months, you're only with these guys for 6 months at a time.
You're mercenary.
During the season, you're a soldier of fortune at this point. You're a private contractor. You're a private football contractor. Would you rather be that in the eyes of the National Football League, or would you rather be a guy who is a stalwart for your program and your team and somebody who you can set your watch to as a human being, a teammate, and as a football player? Those are the guys I want on my team.
Yeah, agreed. I will say I do think NIL and the transfer portal benefits guys from whether it's FCS, whether it's lower level power FBS, them getting their looks, transferring up, shall we say.
Like Carson Steele, for example.
Yeah, going from Ball State to UCLA, or guys going from smaller programs to bigger programs, raising their draft stock, raising their ability to showcase their talents against better competition. Those guys benefit. But the 5-star that starts at Georgia, then goes to Alabama, then goes to USC, like a Jermaine Burton, a lot of times those guys come out, with some red flags about their character because they didn't have to be good people in the program. They didn't have to develop. They just, as soon as things got tough, they were able to leave. And I think that's a tragedy for a lot of these guys.
It's a tale of the times, Mike.
Unfortunate. All right. We're going to preview all the games after this. But first, Sunday, it's an NFL on CBS doubleheader. The first place Vikings head to historic Lambeau Field to meet the Packers. And later, AFC rivals face off when Patrick Mahomes leads the Chiefs into LA against the Chargers. Now that's a CBS Sports Sunday. It all begins noon Eastern with NFL Today on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus or CBS Sports Network with tops at 10 a.m. with your boy?
It'll be 8 a.m. to noon every Sunday. You can find us on CBS. It's 4 hours of live television there, Mike. It's coast to coast live. Come check us out.
We got 16 games preview right after this.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
All right, first up, our lock performance from a week ago. Kyle, we had the Bears. Believe it in the Bears as a lock was a toughie.
I was
Bills,
so let down.
Great pick. New Orleans, I was on New Orleans too, and sadly, they coughed that one up at the end. The 49ers one was a total fish pick on my part. I never should have bet that one. That one, I apologize for even including that Sorry, but the other two, we'll take it.
I don't apologize for anything. I apologize for the way that the Chicago Bears offensive line played and the way that the New Orleans Saints allowed the Eagles to just dictate the terms of engagement against the Eagles.
I do apologize for the 49ers one. You can't bet that divisional matchup. Can't bet a full touchdown dog. I'm a fish. All right. To Thursday Night Football. Cowboys traveling to New York to face the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Where the Giants are 5.5-point dogs. Expecting some points. This one, 45.5 points. Not a bad over-under considering how this Cowboys run defense has looked of late. But the tail of the tape says head coach, quarterback, receivers all going the Cowboys' way. Although receivers I had as a debate. With the way Malik Neighbors has been playing, I think it's a debate at this point, but I do think CeeDee Lamb you're still taking them head-to-head in that Malik Neighbors CeeDee Lamb debate. Backfield, give me the Giants and Motor Singletary. O-line, D-line, both going the Giants' way as well. Surprising to say, but the Giants' offensive line.
Isn't this
rebounded.
wild? O-line and D-line, check marks for the Giants.
I know. The D-line, though, for the Giants, I mean, they took over that game a week ago. I think that's going to be the story of this game is what can the Cowboys do to one-stop deck? You got a rookie center against Dexter Lawrence. You have a rookie left tackle against Brian Burns if they so choose to put him on that side. So that's, to me, the story of the game and how those matchups play out. Linebackers, I went the Giants' way. Secondary, give me the Cowboys' side. Because some injuries here. Giants, secondary, Drew Phillips, the standout rookie that we've talked about in the slot. He's out. Adoree Jackson out as well. So 2 big injuries in that secondary. I don't love betting this one, I will say, just given the state of the Cowboys' run defense. Like, I think the Giants will be able to move the football. But at the end of the day, this is like Cowboys have to have this, whereas the Giants are kind of just, I don't want to say playing with house money at this point, but like no one's expecting too much out of this.
I look at the last 2 weeks from Daniel Jones and the way he's looked comfortable in the pocket. He's been able to spread the football around. And I've been way more concerned about Daniel Jones than I am in the last 14 days of NFL football. I really like the direction this Giants team is heading. They had to figure out how to win a game, and they went and did that last week. I really like Devin Singletary. You talked about him being a key player. You're looking at a good balance between running the football and being able to catch the football out of the backfield. So he gives Daniel Jones that second option if things go awry down the field. We obviously love Malik Neighbors, but to your point, the matchup is going to be this Dallas offensive line trying to keep the Giants defensive line at bay. You're talking about 2 edge guys in Burns and Thibodeau going against potentially a problem there at the left tackle spot for the Cowboys and Tyler Guyton. Then my guy Cooper Beebe, he's going to be going against one of the best in Dexter Lawrence in the middle. That'll be what determines what Dak is looking at when he's dropping back. And, we can get Dak off his spot. Maybe we can force a turnover here in this Giants game. I'm one of these guys who's definitely in on the Giants tonight. I want to see the Giants go out and do well. I've honestly felt bad for Daniel Jones, and there's not many guys in the NFL I feel bad for, particularly quarterbacks. But through all he's been through as a football player, the media market he plays in, I want to see Daniel Jones go out there and beat a divisional rival, go get after Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. And for the Cowboys, you got to stop this offense. You got to be able to stop a nosebleed in this league if you want to win football games. If you don't want to be under the microscope like you were this week, go out there, pin your ears back, and get after some people at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, so Brian Burns, of his 160 snaps this year, 106 have come on the left side, so that's against right tackle. So I think it's a tough matchup for Terrence Steele, though. Either way,
Thibodeau is going to be over. Thibodeau will be over
the rookie.
Guyton.
Most of the time, but they do move around, and I do think whoever it is,
they will have their opportunities.
Exactly. All right, on to the Sunday slate, where the Bengals travel to Carolina to face the Panthers. Panthers 4.5-point dogs, despite their resounding win a week ago with Andy Dalton. Red Rifle revenge game against his former team in the Cincinnati Bengals that kicked him to the curb for Joe Burrow. Let's just say it for what it was. How do they treat him there in Cincy? I'm kidding. Obviously, you're going to go Joe Burrow in that situation. 48.5 points is the over-under. With this Bengals team right now, I think a lot of people are going to be betting overs with them, the way that defense looked, especially if B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins can't go again, which looks like they're on track to not play again. But then the other injuries here, Adam Thielen goes on IR this week. Trent Brown goes on IR this week.
That was a nasty
at right tackle. Torn patellar, he's out for the year. So Bengals fans, you got your rookie tackle thrown to the Wolves here.
He's going to struggle, I think.
They signed Brown because kind of knowing that they wanted to give this guy time to develop.
He's a
Because if
project.
you watch Demarius Mims
He
in college,
looked like a project last week when he was out there.
he had the fewest snaps of any first-round offensive tackle since they started collecting collegiate snaps. So that's not good.
Since they invented counting.
Fewer than Ryan Ramczyk, who played 1 year of Division I football. So it's not great. Not great to be throwing that guy against the Panthers. But if he's going to get anyone, this Panthers defensive line's a nice, hey, welcome to the NFL. Not a lot of true pass rushers on that unit. And that's why you see in the tail of the tape here, the only tick box I'm giving to the Panthers is that offensive line, where I think the thing we said preseason, they've been a lot better. Week 1 wasn't great, but week 2, week 3, they've looked a lot better as a unit. They're healthier. Damian Lewis may not be playing in this game, but they are healthier, obviously, than the Bengals with that Trent Brown injury at right tackle and throwing in a first-round rookie. So I think the Bengals are quite clearly the better side here. Like if we ran this in week 1, this line, and now obviously with T. Higgins back, Jamar Chase back, if we ran these two teams at full strength week 1, I think it's like a 7.5 point line. And I think with their backs, we said their backs are against the wall last week. Now their backs are like through the wall.
They're through the wall. They're outside with it.
They just have like one hand sticking through, trying to hold on for dear life. They're gonna empty it out. And I think this game is one where I honestly think the Bengals blow them out. I truly do.
But they need to. I mean, if the Bengals want any chance of getting back in this thing, since realignment in the early 2000s, I think there was like 28 teams that ran the table in their division. And out of those teams, 26 of them made the playoffs. The last team to finish 6-0 in the division and not make the playoffs was the Oakland Raiders. I think it was 2010. So for this Bengals team, obviously a lot of division games remaining, but you got to win these out of division games. You got to start rolling these things together, stack wins. And for the Bengals, it's got to be make one stop on defense. If you can make one stop on defense against this Panthers team, have them stub their toe, your offense is going to be prolific. I mean, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, they looked to be in lockstep last week. They picked up where they left off. I'm not concerned with the Bengals in this one, but I am going to go with the over in this one. I think that both these teams can put up some points, and Andy Dalton looks pretty comfy to me.
Yeah. When you give up 6 straight scoring drives for a total of 38 points and don't stop a team once.
One stop.
Your defense is built for some overs. That Cincy team is built for some overs. All right, on to the Broncos, traveling to New York to face the Jets. Jets are 7.5 point favorites here, over under of 38.5 points. That's a mismatched line / over under. That's, what is that? Expecting a game of that's expecting a low scoring blowout by the New York Jets. Tail of the tape says Broncos get the head coaching tick mark. Broncos get the defensive line tick mark. But after that, the Jets are taking all the other ones here. No surprise. Jets looked very good last Thursday night in their blowout victory over the New England Patriots. They're at home, but I like the Broncos in this one. It's going to be a real low scoring affair.
Dude, I think Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are going to start fast. They're going to have a really dynamic looking first 15. And for those of you who are at home, first 15 is the play sheet that we get on Saturday night in the hotel that tells us how we're going to start the game offensively. And a lot of teams understand that if you can nail that first 15, you can get out to a head start. If you get out to a head start against Bo Nix and this Broncos team, you're going to force them to play a game that I don't think they're comfortable playing from behind against Aaron Rodgers. And obviously the Jets have looked good. We saw Morgan Moses go down last week.
So we get our first taste, another first-round rookie OT.
You and I don't have a lot of concern there because who's in there?
Fashanu.
It's Fashanu. He's going to be coming in there. You can play right or left tackle. And you know what? I'll be honest, Tyron Smith, I'm going to whisper this. Tyron Smith hasn't been great either on the left side. So something to keep an eye on for the Jets.
So that's why I like the Broncos in this one, is because Tyron's flexibility
doesn't look like Tyron Smith.
It looks kind of shot, unfortunately. As much as, I thought last year he was still not at his peak, but he was still had it. What Josh Uche did to him last Thursday night was kind of gross, honestly. He did not look good. And
9 pressure.
Olu, for as much as we said, in the preseason, he looked like he could handle right tackle. This Broncos defense, I think their 3rd highest blitz rate in the NFL this year. I mean, people talk about Brian Flores, but what they've done, Vance Joseph has done there, is almost like it's probably the closest thing to Brian Flores from what they're doing from a blitz perspective. They're doing a lot of the same stuff with overloaded sides.
Who doesn't panic before the snap? Who doesn't panic before the snap?
Rodgers is good. I worry about the O-line, though.
So the only guy that they have to, the only guy they should be relaying the information to is Fashanu. Yeah. Because pre-snap, he's going to be swimming. He's going to be worried about one thing. That's blocking the edge defender. As a tackle, as a young tackle, you have your blinders on. You're in a hallway. And at the other end of the hallway is the edge rusher. Now you throw in Vance Joseph's multiple looks, spinners. You get guys at the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to snap Fashanu out of it and say, hey, watch 56 here. You got squeeze responsibilities if this happens. So they're going to test Fashanu early, in my opinion. That's a great point by you with Vance Joseph. They're going to see how up to speed this guy is. And if he's not up to speed, how well Aaron and the O-lineman can communicate with him. Luckily, they're at home. He'll be able to hear him.
And the other thing, they got a guy who can match up with Garrett Wilson, a man named Patrick Surtain, who I trust that they'll probably have him track a little bit of him, even if I like, obviously I said Riley Moss and what he's done in year 2. So
Riley Moss.
For all those reasons, I like the Broncos, not necessarily to win. But yeah, I'll pick. I
think Riley Moss wears that same outfit after games when he goes out.
Oh man, where is he from? I think he's Iowa through and through.
There you go.
They
got cowboy boots in Iowa.
This is so Midwest is more work boots. Like when you see people out in the Midwest, they're like
Red Wings,
Tim's, Red Wings, those sort of things.
Okay.
It's not cowboy boots, or once you get past probably into like Kentucky, south of that,
east of the Ohio River Valley and south.
Yeah, you start getting into cowboy boots. All right.
I just figured he was a cowboy boots guy.
He may be. We'll have to get him on ask. Next up here, it's time for this Hellman's Stacks segment where we discuss the QB and receiver duos to keep an eye on this upcoming weekend. Brought to you by Hellman's Real Mayonnaise. May your game day be delicious. My Hellman's stack this week: CJ Stroud, Nico Collins. Hard to go against this team, especially when they're facing the 3rd worst pass defense in the NFL this season in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nico Collins right now, the NFL's leading receiver, 338 yards, 50 more than anyone else in the NFL. He is CJ Stroud's go-to guy in that offense, despite guys like Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell in there as well. He's that true X, that guy you're going to feature no matter what. And with the Jaguars, they've played man coverage. I gave a hat tip to them week 1. I thought their man coverage ability and the ability to press and throw off the timing of those Dolphins receivers was great. But then they lost Tyson Campbell and they kept playing man coverage. When you lose your top corner, that's like a signal to like, hey, we got to let's
get to 6. Let's get to 3. Let's get to 2. Let's get to 4.
And they haven't. So sadly, if you're trying to play man coverage against the Texans team, I think you're in for a long, long day.
It's not a Where's Waldo day with Nico Collins because there's other Waldos. There's many Waldos out there. You got to watch all the Waldos.
No one's playing man. No one's crazy enough to do that against the Texans team. And we'll see.
I like that.
Jaguars
and CJ Stroud has got to be looking for a bounce back. I mean, he was a little bit embarrassed last week after getting talked to by Sam Darnold at the midfield, like we saw Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud 2 weeks ago. So I'm looking for him to have a bust out game. Nico Collins is going to have a chip on his shoulder as well.
This has been the Hellman's Stack segment, brought to you by Hellman's Real Mayonnaise. Just like these QB and wide receiver duos, tailgate snacking and Hellman's Mayonnaise make the perfect combo, bringing out the rich and creamy taste to all your game day dishes. So give it a try, and may your game day be delicious with Hellman's Real Mayonnaise. Shop at your local Walmart, Kroger, or grocery store and add some extra deliciousness to your game day dishes this football season.
Who else? Who's your all-time Hellman's stack? I mean, outside of Jordy Nelson and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, come on. That was a go stack.
You can give it to me later.
I mean, Burrow and Chase has the chance to be, right? From
That's a good one.
To the NFL.
Kelsey and Mahomes.
Okay.
Moving on.
Jaguars to the Texans. Texans 6.5 point favorites. 45.5 points is the over-under. Jaguars in complete free fall, it would seem. Offense looks... I mean, it just looks terrible. Like there's not much to write home about. I tweeted out a clip yesterday of Gabe Davis running a route.
Doesn't look healthy.
He shouldn't be out there, man. I don't know if
that tight end got off the line quicker than he did. Brenton Strange was running better routes than he was. And yeah, it's not good. Not a lot of people. I mean, even Brian Thomas was struggling to get open in that game. I mean, he had a nice, like a great look for a blaze out, and he ran it just like not exceptionally well on the third down pass breakup. Not a lot to write home about. That's why every single tick mark except for D-line and linebackers goes the Texans' way in this one in terms of the matchups. And even the Jaguars and those linebackers, I'm not so sure about because Foye Oluokun out for this game. He's got plantar fasciitis. So what a good dude he is too.
I know 6.5 point favorites have just been decimated. Any team that's a touchdown plus this year, they've actually, I think, lost more games now than they've won, those teams. and like no one's covering those spreads. But every single thing is pointing the Texans' way in this one.
Dude, this Jaguars team, they all know when they go in and they take off their eye black and they look in the mirror, they have that little conversation with themselves. Am I going to be out of here? Like, am I going to be the first chip that falls for this roster? Everybody's afraid for their job. And when I think about Gabe Davis, I'll take it from a player's perspective. I'll defend him a little bit. I know he's dinged up. And I know he's got a lot of money and a lot of people asking a lot of questions. But when you're on a team that's struggling as badly as the Jacksonville Jaguars are, when you're a guy like Gabe Davis and a lot's expected of you, you're going to go out there and play, whether or not you're hurt or not. I mean, this is what happens when they pay you money. You got to go out there and earn it. So I credit him, even if he is really out there in pain. But it ain't good for the Jaguars. It doesn't look good for Gabe Davis. And this one's not going to be very pretty, I don't think.
Yeah, I think we have the same take on that one. All right, we're going to take a quick little break after that. Saints at Falcons. All right, Saints, jamming the Falcons. We have a couple big injuries of note here. The centers for each team are out. Drew Dahlman for the Atlanta Falcons, Eric McCoy for the New Orleans Saints. Both head to IR. Both pretty impactful given.
That's a huge position.
Given how big that is, and then just what they want to do offensively. These are two of, I think, the two stretch heaviest zone teams in the NFL. Alex Gibbs is smiling somewhere watching these two teams go to battle because they're going to spread you. They're going to run that true zone game on you, and the center position in a true zone stretch game is like the keystone.
Yeah,
it truly is. You get that guy capable of making that reach of a one tech or climbing to the second level when he's uncovered and getting that linebacker. That turns those
are the big ones. It's the ability to get skinny, get to the second level, because that turns a 3-yard gain into a potentially 15-yard gain, because who's the first on the scene for these stretch run plays? It's often the middle linebacker. It's often the play side linebacker. When you're dealing with an offensive guard going to get a 3 technique and reaching them, and then you get the tackle trying to widen that end, the guy responsible for making or breaking the play is often the center. So with the center out, it's going to be interesting to see if they got a guy in there who can get it done.
Yeah, so we'll see. So tail of the tape, head coach, quarterback, wide receivers, all going in the Saints' direction, even though I like what I've seen from the Falcons receiving core this year with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, I think looks like he's at his best. And then Darnell Mooney quietly, that man's getting open a lot when you flip on the tape. Sadly, still doesn't have a quarterback that can hit him down the football field.
He's been open for friggin' 3 years. I watched him for a few years in Chicago, wide open, booty naked open. You know what? Derek Carr, 142, touchdown and an interception last week. It's a solid Atlanta secondary, so I look for this to be tough sledding for them in the pass game as well. But the lack of pass rush production tells me that Derek Carr will have some time to sit back there and throw the ball. Obviously, the matchup's going to come down to whether or not these receivers can get open late developing routes versus this secondary. And obviously, they got guys in Atlanta who can go get the ball in the back end.
That's where I see this game being decided. You look at those two ticks, D-line linebackers for the New Orleans Saints. The Falcons right now, according to PFF, the lowest pass rushing grade of anyone in the NFL. That was the thing that really did the Saints in. Everyone talked about the run game and how they shut that down. But it was the fact that they shut down the running game. And then when they had those play action passes, there were attempts, there were lanes to throw, there were wide open shots down the football field that the Eagles defensive line was just able to get in Derek Carr's face before he was comfortable enough to throw those. I don't see that being the case for the Falcons. So if they really sell out to stop the run, by all means go do it, but you're going to leave yourself open on the back end for some big shots down the football field. So for that reason, I'm picking the New Orleans Saints.
I can't talk enough about how impressed I am with the physicality of this Falcons front. But to your point, they've got Drew Dahlman out. They've got another O-lineman out. I watched it. It was an MCL and then it was a high ankle. They both look nasty. I've had both of those injuries. It's brutal. So if either of those guys can come back out, I don't think it's going to be the same level of physicality. I don't see them coming and playing this week. So I think that offensive game plan looks a little bit less than bargained for in terms of physicality and skill. I like their starting 5, but they don't have them out there. You're going Atlanta?
No, I'm going Saints.
I'm going to go Atlanta, so we can argue about this because I think Kirk Cousins gets it done. I think Kirk outplays Derek Carr. I think that this secondary comes up with a big interception on Derek Carr, and the Atlanta Falcons get to steal a couple possessions.
I will say, this is one of the few games I've said all year. I think every time I've gone strong take on something, it's been an under. I kind of like the over 42.5. I think we've adjusted a little too far. All it takes is the Saints hitting a couple big ones, and they've kind of done that on everyone except for this past week. They hit a couple big ones, and I think we see that number go up.
If you miss one fit against a team like this in the run game, it could go for 35 yards. And next thing you know, you got to respect the run, and boom, it's bombs away. So
there you go.
Both of these teams are dangerous.
All right, on to Vikings traveling to Green Bay to face the Packers. Game of the weekend, in my opinion. Jordan Love still not fully participating in practice, but I think everyone is assuming he's going to play in this one. Sam Darnold, a little banged up himself after the ankle he suffered, but he is on track to play as well. So there's that.
He has a higher pain tolerance, red hair. I heard that this is like scientific fact. If you have red hair, you have a higher pain tolerance. So he'll be okay.
Head coach. I have no studies to back that up, but I'll believe it.
It's just science, Mike.
Yeah. I mean, they go through, they deal with a lot in terms of from like grade school.
I just think about the boxer from Mexico who's dominant. He's got red hair. He's like one of the toughest guys you'll ever watch. I don't even know the guy's name. I just know he's tough as hell. Blake Griffin, very tough.
Very tough. All right, Vikings. They get the head coaching nod because, again, I saw it's a complete coaching nod. And who's dialing it up on both sides of the ball better right now than the Minnesota Vikings? But these are two top 5 staffs in the league right now. I mean,
They've got answers to the test, as they say.
LaFleur is also dialing it up. Let's not get crazy here. And Jeff Hafley, I've been very impressed with how their defense has turned things around. So Vikings still get the tick mark there, but then quarterback, receivers, I'm giving the tick mark to the Packers because Jordan Addison likely still not playing yet in this one. Backfield, I called it a wash. Aaron Jones, most rushing yards in the NFL since week 16 last season. He still looks like he's at the top of his game, even though obviously the Packers went elsewhere at the running back position this offseason in Josh Jacobs. O-line, D-line, though, I got to go Packers for both of these. Now, who's getting more production out of their D-line? I mean, the Vikings are doing a lot to scheme it up to get those guys in good positions to win. But if you're just talking about talent, give me the Packers for both of those. But then linebacker secondary, this is where the Vikings are winning. This is where they're so dominant. This is what Jordan Love's going to have to deal with all game. But they may not even attack that because the Packers have the most rushing yards through 3 weeks of any team, not in the NFL just this season. Well, it is the NFL this season. But since 2019, since the Baltimore Ravens and that hot start that was Lamar Jackson taking the league by storm with the running game. So they're moving the ball on the ground. They may just choose, hey, we're going to try to catch you in some of these blitz looks. We're going to try to get you in an overload. We're going to get you on the other side, and we're going to gash you. The 49ers, I think, went away from that a little too soon in that game. The run looks back in week 2, and they paid for it. I think the Packers this week, I think they commit to the ground game, and that's where we see this game decided on who can stop the other's run game.
This is such a massive, swing in momentum and swing in supremacy, divisional supremacy. This is such a huge football game for both teams that are reestablishing themselves. Obviously, the Packers were great last year, but the Vikings, they found their identity this year with their defense and with their offensive schemes. Sam Darnold looks awesome. We're going to see Jordan Love probably, so it's going to be best on best for both these teams. I think the story of the game will come down to this Minnesota offensive line, who I've been raving about all year. But last week, both the tackles gave up a sack. The interior offensive line gave up 2 sacks. You have to protect Sam Darnold. If you're going to have him back there, drop him back. You don't want him under pressure. I think that's what the game comes down to. And to your point, can Aaron Jones ball out again? If Aaron Jones can ball out again and put the pressure on this defensive front from the Green Bay Packers, we're going to be looking at some trouble, I think, for Green Bay, because I'm not quite sure that Jordan Love is 100% healthy yet. I'd be interested to see what that looks like.
Well, I think it's pretty clear he's not going to be 100% healthy when he
comes
back.
Can he move? Like, is it going to be Kirk Cousins isn't 100% healthy? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers' version of 100% healthy? What are we going to look at? Is the mobility going to be anywhere near subpar?
I don't know. We'll see. I doubt he's going to be completely.
If it were up to me, I'd play Malik Willis.
Would you?
Yeah, I would.
You would still.
We stole a few wins already. We're going to get more wins, divisional and out of division. I'd say let's continue to train our guy Malik Willis up.
I do wonder if there's a little like Malik Willis packages this week where they're like, hey,
we could definitely see that.
We don't need you to take, all these hits. We don't need to subject you to that. And we feel like we got a good thing with the running game going when Malik's in there. So
Darnold doesn't throw for a lot of yards, but man, he maximizes his touchdown opportunities, huh? So I mean, you got to understand.
He's aggressive in the red zone, man. That's what it takes.
They're going to be looking to throw the ball in that red area. So I'm looking for guys like these Packers secondary guys to be taking the football away. It's going to be Jefferson and Alexander, for some of this game, most of this game. Does he travel with Jefferson?
No, they
He's gonna
sometimes
stay
go
on
on
the
third
right side
downs.
of the
I
field?
doubt I just bet he stays on the left side. Yeah. So we'll see. But I do love Darnold. You brought up his red zone capabilities. Like, I love that hitch route he threw for a touchdown last week. I can't remember exactly who it was to, but it was just like, that is a throw that it's not open by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't look open. You just got to trust that I'm going to hit this tiny window before the defender gets to that tiny window.
I think it was week 1 or week 2. He hit Justin Jefferson on a bang slant, like a 4-yard slant, and Jefferson was able to play big guy ball. It's like a whole new brand of football that we see Justin Jefferson playing. It's a trust throw from Sam Darnold. He trusts his guys. KOC trusts his guys. Obviously, Flores trusts his defense.
I can't make a pick in this one. I'm too close.
I'm going to go Vikings because FTP.
Okay. All right, on to the Steelers, traveling to Indy to face the Colts. Colts dogs at home. 1.5 points. The Steelers are favored by. 39.5 is the over-under. This is, to go back to some PFF grading, the matchup between the highest pass rushing graded team through 3 weeks. I think everyone knows that's not the Colts, that's the Steelers. Against the highest pass blocking offensive line in the NFL through 3 weeks in the Indianapolis Colts. So strength on strength. Who's going to come out on top on that one remains to be seen, but Alex Highsmith is out for this game. The edge rusher opposite TJ Watt, who's one of the more underrated players in the NFL. Not that huge, though, because Nick Herbig's a problem.
Yeah, but we stand Highsmith. We stand Highsmith. He lurks in the shadows.
But I think this is going to show up more in the running game, where Herbig's still well undersized. I mean, he's like a 235, 240 pounder. That's why he only comes in on third downs. So not only him just even like trying to tackle someone like Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, but him trying to hold up to blocks and whatnot. TBD on that. Taylor Tape says head coach goes the Steelers' way. Offense, entire offense goes the Colts' way. Entire defense goes the Steelers' way.
You're giving quarterback to the Colts.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That ceiling on Justin Fields pretty high.
Is it?
That's ceiling. But the ceiling I'd say the floor on the floor on Anthony Richardson is lower than the floor.
He's a higher
Justin
variance.
Fields.
We got a higher variance versus a lower.
That's why we do this show,
and that's why I love this matchup. Truthfully, is because there's a lot of good storylines, and you saw it right there in the tail of the tape. The Colts have a lot of talent offensively. This team has loaded up on that side of the football, and that's how you get these unbelievably explosive plays that we've seen at times from this Colts offense. But a lot of misconnections too. And Anthony Richardson, we discussed his.
Bro, I'm loading the box and forcing Anthony Richardson to beat me. I'm going to load that box
and
say,
did that.
hit your free throws. It's like hack-a-shack. Yeah. I want to hack this guy and make him go to the free throw line, dribble it twice, and then make a jump shot. I just don't see it happening game in, game out.
Richardson right now, sub 50% completion percentage. I thought the days of that were over in the NFL. I thought, 1990s want their completion percentage back.
Stop.
But at 8.0 average yards per attempt. So it's low. Again, high variance, but high reward when Anthony Richardson does sling it more often than not. I think against this Pittsburgh defense, I mean, they've won by suffocating teams and like not letting them get off the ground and not even letting them move the ball with the running game and then basically putting them in a lot of third and longs and just letting their pass rushing go to town.
This game will come down to the Steelers defense playing their physical brand of football, dominating the line of scrimmage, being bullies up front, stopping drives early, making them stub their toe, and then not letting Richardson ball out. I mean, how do you do that? You stop the run and you force him to sit back there and make throws all day.
But my thing is, I don't think there's any stopping this Colts run game. When you have what they have in that O-line, Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson, and the option runs that he can do and utilize, and they're going to lean into it, I think, bigly in this game. When you have that,
bigly.
When you have that, I like the Colts side, especially being at home. I don't know. I like the Colts side. I'm just gonna say it.
I feel like they stole one against the Chicago Bears, and I don't see it happening.
They did not steal. That's an absolute homer take. I can't let you get away with that. They were dominating that game.
I think Anthony Richardson is going to be just fine, but it's not there yet. He's not at the level where he's an NFL thrower of the football. There's too many easy ones he misses, and because of that, I'm going to go with Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they keep this little dream going on another week, and he may only have, they may put up 16 points in a win here.
The worry, if I do have one, and I do have one with this Colts pick, it's will they just get ran on? But I do think this Steelers offensive line has not showed me much, especially now Troy Fautanu out. Outside of Zach Frazier, not a lot of guys getting the job done consistently.
What's up with all these former Chicago Bear linemen going on and being the the bell of the ball in the PFF rankings. It's either James Daniels or Lucas Patrick every week, and I'm just having a nervous breakdown, emotional, letdown every single week. I can't stand it. What the hell, man?
What the hell, man? All right, Rams traveling to the Bears. Bears favored in this one, 2.5 points. 40.5 points is the over-under.
They better protect Caleb.
Every Bears game, I love the under. You know that. I think they've hit the under every single week so far.
Just slappy, dude.
Tail of the tape. Rams get the head coach and quarterback selections, but not much after that. They get running back as well, where Kyron Williams still balling. We heard Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, got to get a heavy dose of the Texan, huh?
Because DeAndre Swift, I mean, everyone said this last year.
Vision.
The man, you watched his running backs coach, Deuce Staley, berate him on the sideline every single game and just say, get your ass upfield. Get your ass upfield. This is not an O-line where you can dance around. Yeah. And that's been his MO ever since he was at the Lions. That's why they were comfortable trading him away. And
the guy thinks he's like prime Le'Veon Bell with a Pro Bowl cast of O-linemen in front of him, like he can just read second-level defenders the whole time. Just run. Hit your gap hard. Put your head down and finish. Fall forward for 3. We'll be happy.
Roshan, much better fit for basically what this offensive line has given you. But even still, criticizing this Bears offensive line, they still get the O-line check mark with all the injuries the Rams still have, although Alaric Jackson brought back some semblance of
normality.
There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Actually, I'm not sure it was, but it works. At left tackle this past week for the Los Angeles Rams, they could at least operate some drop back passing game, but then I'm not sure they have the receivers to get it done against this Bears secondary. So suffocating, so good. And you see all the defensive tick marks going the Bears way.
If we can get a turnover on Matt Stafford, if we can get one extra possession,
I feel good about you guys getting a turnover.
If we can get one turnover, I really feel good about the fact that Caleb will continue to develop. But my issue is this defensive front for the Rams have found a way to create pressures. Obviously, the numbers aren't always there in terms of sacks, but the issue with Caleb this year has been when things break down in protection. That's when things go awry. You make rush throws. You have to get off your spot. So for the Rams, you got to get after this young quarterback. And for Caleb Williams and for Shane Waldron, you have to have some of this quick game stuff dialed up. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands and get them down the field. One thing I loved last week was the involvement of Cole Kmet in this offense. He needs to always be in his quarterback's vision because that will keep them on schedule. That'll be his break glass in case of emergency receiver, Cole Kmet.
All right, on to the Eagles. I like the
Bears.
I actually like the Bears as well, and I like the under in that one. On to Eagles traveling to Tampa Bay to face the Bucs. Bucs 2.5-point dogs at home here. 44.5 points is the over-under. Some big injuries, though, that I'm surprised the Bucs aren't favored of because of A.J. Brown still hasn't practiced yet with a hamstring, and Devontae Smith with that concussion last week, more than likely going to be out in this game. I think if you're the Eagles, especially with how he was on the ground. If you're the Eagles, you just sort of we have a long season ahead of us.
Yep.
Let's not rush this guy back.
Take care of yourself.
Especially with the size of this lad, Devontae Smith. So, tail of the tape says, head coach going the Buccaneers way, quarterback going the Eagles way, receivers with those injuries going the Bucs way, but then backfield, O-line, D-line, give me the Eagles and all those. We'll see if Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey play this week.
Lane Johnson back.
They'll need them. They'll need those two to play. Lane Johnson's still a TBD, more likely.
I spoke to him on FaceTime the other day. I asked him how many fingers I was holding up. He laughed and then he hung up on me. That was my injury update on Lane Johnson. He flicked me off laughing.
He knew enough to hang up on you. So that seems like he's making good decisions already. Back from that, I think that's the cognitive test that they use in the NFL. Linebackers is the only tick mark on defense the Buccaneers get. Secondary toss-up at this point with how the Eagles and Bucs have played. Antoine Winfield still may be out. Probably more likely than not, he doesn't play in this one. So that's why I give this one a tie. So a lot of injuries on both sides.
Guard Dallas Goedert and pressure Jalen Hurts.
That's the thing.
And you're looking at some turnovers and you're looking at some stops.
It's more, if you can tell me Vita Vea is playing this one, I like the Bucs a lot.
Yeah.
If he's not, I do think the Eagles could just lean on him, with that offensive line. If Lane's in, I think they could just walk down the football field in small increments and not have to worry about your top two wide receivers being out. But if that's not the case, and Vita Vea is playing, I think the Bucs take this one.
Some guys love getting pressured because it opens things up on the second level and you can hit your quick hitters.
Yeah.
And some guys see the pressure instead of the opportunity from the pressure. And Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is a guy that does not enjoy pressure. And what does this guy in Tampa Bay like to do, Todd Bowles? He likes to dial
Second
it
highest
up.
blitz rate.
He likes to dial it up. He's done it for a long time, so there's no secrets there. Jalen understands it. The challenge is going to be getting rid of the football clean and being able to keep your eyes on those receivers down the field. Well, receiver, they don't even have receivers right now. Keep your eye on Dallas Goedert down the field, and if things look a little sketchy, get the ball to him quick.
Yeah, I like the Bucs, and I also kind of like the under 44.5
I like
points.
the Eagles in this one. Because of your point about Saquon, they're going to run the football. I think it's going to be a challenge from Coach Statland all week. They know the game is on their shoulders. Take the ball out of Jalen's hands, put it in somebody better's hands. Saquon.
All right, we're going to get to the 4 p.m. slate here in just a second. First, we're going to take a quick little break.
A Quiet Place Day 1 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. It's thrilling, terrifying. It will make your heart pound out of your chest. A Quiet Place Day 1, now streaming.
Hey, we're back. 4 p.m.
It's
slate.
us. It's you. It's me.
Patriots traveling to San Francisco across the country to face the 49ers. 49ers, 10-point favorites with an over-under of 39.5 points. That's a tough combo.
Is that the worst flight of the week? Like after this game for the Patriots heading home after an obvious afternoon window, these guys are going to get back to Boston at like 10 in the morning.
Yeah, that's going to be brutal. As much as I think that's a crazy -10 and a 39.5 point spread, I like the under. And I kind of like the 49ers in this one. Now, I don't love the 49ers enough to bet them, but I definitely like the under because Debo Kittle still may not be playing. Now, obviously, Juwan Jennings looked great this past week.
But the secondary in New England can.
But that secondary of New England, I don't care who it is, you need more than 2 options in your offense to go against them. And then Javon Hargrave, word comes out this week, triceps injury out for the season.
That
more likely than
sucks.
Not. That's the one thing everyone's talking about, these offensive injuries. Not a lot of people talking about how this defensive line does not have the teeth. And you saw it.
Hargrave is a teeth guy.
Saw it the last drive against the Rams, the last few drives against the Rams. They were not getting after Matthew Stafford. In obvious passing situations, team coming from behind a year ago, when they had Chase Young, when they had Eric Armstead, it was lights out. It was game over. Not the case this year. And with no Javon Hargrave, it really is not going to be the case going forward. That being said, the tick marks mostly going the 49ers' way. Patriots only get the backfield tick mark, the D-line tick mark, and the secondary tick mark. Offensively, though, 49ers still, I trust to move the ball a little. Not sure I trust the Patriots to move the ball at all.
These are the games where Brock Purdy can not only continue to earn the contract that he's going to be set to be paid, but also hush the people like me and Mike who are saying that he can, I'm not saying that Mike has said this, but, hey, shut up, guys. I can play football without an all-star cast, without the Monstars. He goes out here and he plays efficient football. He keeps the turnovers down. He keeps their offense on schedule. That's all you can ask from a quarterback. It's a huge game for Brock Purdy, even though it is the Patriots at home for the Niners. And we're talking about this thing like it could be a toss-up, which is interesting. So for San Francisco, what's your identity without all these all-stars? And Brock Purdy, can you prove it to us that you are the guy that makes this thing go?
Yeah, I'd still like the 49ers not to cover.
I love the 49ers.
I like them to win, and I like the under there.
Give me the cover, too.
Ooh, I like it. All right, Commanders traveling to Arizona to face the Cardinals. Cardinals 3.5-point favorites despite running into the hottest offense in the NFL. And Jaden Daniels, who right now, through 3 games, has the second highest completion percentage in NFL history.
Are you kidding me?
80.3%. Only Drew Brees in his 2018 season.
Run college offenses. That's what we need to do.
Higher.
Just everybody run college offenses.
Everybody run.
Chip Kelly brought a college offense to Nick Foles' Philadelphia Eagles. He threw for 50 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So, I mean, let's just run college offenses. What do you think?
It's not the worst idea in the world. Some guys. Some people
keep it simple, stupid.
I will say, though, I trust Jonathan Gannon in this Cardinals defense to be a little bit better prepared than what I saw from the Bengals. Although I don't think they're going to be able to pressure and get to Jaden Daniels as much as it takes to really shut him down right now. Like to get Jaden Daniels and this Commanders offense to wrangle them, you have to keep him in the pocket and compress those pockets. I don't think the Cardinals have the guys to do that. I just don't. And Dennis Gardeck may not be playing in this one himself, and that would be a blow to this Cardinals pass rush because he's probably their best true pass rushing guy off the edge, even if Zayvon Collins, I think, has been their best.
He would have the Andrew Wiley matchup. in this one.
Yes.
I like the Commanders. They're a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, I'm a big Kyler fan as well. So this is a toss-up in terms of who I'm going to be actually rooting for as a football fan. But, like anybody else, I want to see if this guy, Jaden Daniels, can string it together 2 weeks in a row and have an explosive, dominant type of game. On the other side of the ball, it's going to be Kyler Murray. Can he hit the throws that he's supposed to hit on the outbreakers to Marvin Harrison on the sideline, the easy 7 to 9 yard outs? I want to see those be free throws for Kyler Murray. And as a former baseball player, I'm expecting Kyler Murray, every time a ground ball is hit to him at shortstop, he's going to throw that guy out at first base. That's what we need to see with Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray. Stay on schedule. Man, oh man. Give me the Cardinals in this one.
He may have looked like a shortstop, but Kyler was an outfielder.
But you understand the sentiment here. It's like, these are free throws. These are, it's like
actually look like a second baseman.
If I field a ground ball at the pitcher's mound, I need to be able to throw the guy at it first. I don't want the yips. We don't want any yips, especially when you're throwing to Marvin.
I will say though, if you're just from a pure entertainment perspective, this is going to look like 2011 football.
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be points. You're going to see. You have two of the probably, just like on paper, talent-wise, two of probably the 5 worst defenses in the NFL, just from like skill. Now, I think Jonathan Gannon gets a little bit better results out of his guys than that, whereas the potential to, but still, these guys in any given week can give up 40. And I hope we see both teams put up.
I give credit to this Washington O-line. I mean, they were a group that we considered to be lackluster going into the season, but they have been punching up all year. Yeah. They battle, they play hard.
Sam Cosmi,
they play for one another. Love that. Shout out Nick Allegretti, Andrew Wiley, and all the homies for the Hogs in Washington. Can we still call them the Hogs, even though they're not that team?
Well, I mean, what did that have to do with that?
Yeah, I just figured it was like,
I think you still do. Yeah.
Okay. They are the Hogs then.
I think it was named after the women of DC, not necessarily.
That was a Charles Barkley allude there. All right, Chiefs traveling to Los Angeles to face the Chargers. San Antonio.
Chargers, 8.5-point dogs at home. And you may be thinking, that's a little crazy. Chargers haven't been that bad this year. Well, Joe Alt out. Joey Bosa likely out. Rashawn Slater out. Justin Herbert, game time decision.
Derwin James, NFL
out.
Jail.
Yeah, so the tick marks going, well, they're going the Chiefs in every single arena except for backfield at this one, even with Carson Steele. Actually, I believe he leads the NFL right now in success rate as a runner.
That's incredible. I mean, because when you watch him, it's not very sexy. I mean, the guy runs pretty straight. He runs pretty hard and pretty straight. But to your point about Swift earlier, it's like, we'll pay you to run straight.
Exactly.
And as long as you're hitting the right targets. The offensive line in Kansas City has been awesome. The interior 3, as always, you can set your watch to that group. I love him. And the one guy I'm looking for the bust out this week is Travis Kelce. You look back at this matchup historically, this rivalry in the AFC West, it's been Derwin James and Travis Kelce having an absolute bloodbath, NWO, WWF rivalry on the second level. There's been suplexes. There's been big hits. There's been dirty hits. There's been late hits. This week, it's going to be Travis Kelce, unadulterated by Derwin James. It's going to be the rest of that secondary trying to figure out ways to frustrate Kelce. I think they find him a lot this week because Rashee Rice, dominant last week, truly looking like a superstar. A lot of volume for Mahomes. So watch for Kelce to be the guy that gets some footballs this week.
Yeah, there's nothing to say about the Chargers. I hate these games. These are my least favorite ones where it's just like every key position, the guy's out. It's like, what do you do with 2 backup tackles, a backup quarterback, and your top edge rusher and top member of your secondary out? Like, what do you do? You can try your darndest. You can scheme up whatever you want. And I trust that like the guys coming out there are going to be better and, more well prepared than last year's Charger squad when they had to throw in backups. But still, you're going against the Chiefs. You're going up against the reigning champs. I don't give them much of a shot, I'll just say, to win this game. And they are at home, but it's like they have the worst home field advantage in the NFL. So there's not many reasons to believe in the Chargers. 8.5. If Herbert doesn't play,
it's also a really
if Herbert does play, they could, but if he doesn't play,
Green Light with Chris Long says, damn, Kyle is looking clean today. Mike, stand up for a second. Show him your outfit. Stand up. I want to make sure that Mike gets his credit. He came in the office today. They made fun of me for wearing cowboy boots yesterday. Mike showed up. He's got cowboy boots on. He's got the Nashville special. It's like Morgan Wallen just walked into the studio. Okay,
I just throw my hat on.
I'm going to have him sing pretty soon. What was I saying here about this game? I forget what I was saying.
The Chiefs are probably going to run roughshod.
The Chiefs are going to run roughshod for sure. I mean, It'll be fun. I think Patrick gets back on track this week too. A lot of
what
questions.
Was the stat you had? He's 8-0 in his last 8 games.
8-0 in his last 8 games, but he's also thrown 8 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, or 9 interceptions, 8 touchdowns. But regardless, 8-0. The guy finds a way to win. This Chiefs team, they're the amoeba that just continues to shapeshift and find ways to win. And for the Chargers, they can't get right on the health front. Derwin James is still appealing that hit. So I got the Chiefs.
All right, last game of the 4 p.m. slate. Browns traveling to Vegas to face the reeling Raiders. The Raiders still 1.5-point favorites against the Browns. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. My pick to win the AFC North, looking like they're on life support here. 37.5 points is the over-under. In this one, still TBD on who's going to be the Raiders quarterback, I believe, after the AOC coming in last week.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. If you saw the way that Antonio Pierce looked at that post-game presser, you and I both know what kind of effing week that they had in that building, what kind of practices they were, how many drills that were said, start the drill over. They probably did that about a half dozen times this week. I expect the Raiders to come out with their hair on fire, regardless of who's playing quarterback. They're going to run the football, which isn't characteristic of them. I think they're going to stop the run. I think they're going to get after this quarterback for the Browns. I like the Raiders in this one.
An underrated storyline this season, Christian Wilkins, $100 million man. He has 4 pressures all season long. He has not been showing up the same way. And this Raiders defense currently, per PFF, lowest tackling grade in the NFL, lowest coverage grade in the NFL. Antonio Pierce's side of the ball has been dropping the ball at times. In this one, if Deshaun, get back game, get right game, I don't see it. I'm still going to go Raiders in this one. The Browns have just been a disaster. Max Crosby, who's going to block him up front? No one.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. I truly think we'll see the most inspired Raiders team that we've seen since Antonio Pierce became the interim head coach.
I think that's the thing. Is
they got the Las Vegas Raiders.
They got their ass chewed out.
We saw what happened when this guy came in last year and the team finally found new wind in their sails and they went out there and were like, damn, this Raiders team looks pretty good. And I think that's what we see this week too. Against a Browns team that's quite frankly reeling.
Jameis time. It's Jameis time. I'm gonna say it literally every single
14 weeks of Jameis?
14 weeks of Jameis. It'll be 13 after this next.
13.
They still haven't pulled the plug.
Maybe 13 and a half.
If they lose this game, it's time. If they lose this game and Sean looks bad, they've lost the fan base. They've kind of already lost fan base, let's be real, but they've lost like the locker room.
They asked Deshaun Watson if he's going to try to run the ball more to help, be a spark for this offense. He's like, essentially he said, like, that's not what I do. I'm like, what is it that you do, Deshaun?
Is that from Office Space? What is it
exactly that you do here?
And for Deshaun, well, he does a lot of things that we don't need to discuss in this podcast. All right, Bills traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. A lot of evenly matched tick marks here. Head coach tick mark I gave to the Ravens. Quarterback tick mark, though, I gave to the Bills. Receiver to the Ravens. Backfield, I called it a wash. I just love James Cook. There you go. He's going up against Derrick Henry, but
needs to catch the ball on those fades, though.
Yeah, he does.
Josh was a little frustrated.
O-line, D-line, both going the Bills' way here. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but then linebacker, secondary, both going the Ravens' way here. So a lot of good matchups. To me, the matchup I want to watch is the Ravens defensive line against the Bills O-line, because no one has gotten the better of the Bills O-line just yet.
Yep.
Can this Ravens defensive line get the better of them? And then when they do, the reason I really like the Bills is because Odafe Oweh, probably your best pass rusher for the Bills, best chance of getting pressure. He can't tackle. He's not a good tackler. He's not going to bring Josh Allen down.
He's a flusher.
He's a guy who he gets that first touch and then he falls off and he has someone else clean it up for him, or he cleans it up at the end. I don't trust him to bring down Josh Allen consistently. And I just think if you give him time, and with this Bills offense, how complimentary they've been so far, I like the Bills in this one. It's 2.5-point dogs.
I love the Bills in this one. I really do. And it starts with their front and the offensive line and giving Josh Allen the comfort and the luxury of standing back there, throwing on time. And when things don't happen on time, he has the ability to extend the plays. And that's where really this Bills team becomes the most dangerous, is when they have guys covered up on the second level and Josh Allen takes off. I really love what he does in the red area, becoming a +1 for his team's offense, keeping the football. And like you said, they can't tackle him in the backfield if they get a free runner. And it's even harder when he's running downhill at you at the line of scrimmage with the football. So you got to have a plan for Josh Allen taking off. Maybe if you got two guys in a zone, having one guy, not necessarily a spy, but like a late spy, I would say. Somebody that says, when this dude leaves my zone, I need to get my eyes to Josh Allen now, because there is no secret. He's going to run the football. And then it becomes, you got to make a business decision when Josh Allen takes off.
Some injuries for the Bills. Teron Johnson out. Terrell Bernard out. I'm not sure it matters. Give me the Bills still. On to Monday Night Football. What do you think of the doubleheader Monday night? What are your thoughts? We didn't talk about this.
It's a little overwhelming. Play them at different times.
So would you like a Tuesday night game?
How about a 6 p.m. and an 8 p.m.?
Okay, I can get aboard with that, because what, they were 40 minutes apart?
Stagger them big time.
Yeah, like a bigger stagger.
I need a bigger stagger.
Because they felt like they're almost.
And I want audio on both. I want to be able to listen to both games,
Oh.
I'm not like a 2-box and, choose the volume guy. I need 2 devices to be able to hear 2 games.
See, I watch games on mute and kind of.
See, I appreciate the guys in the booth. Half the reason I watch is to listen to these guys in the broadcast booth.
I will sometimes. I don't always, but if I want to watch a football game, they're muted. I'm blocked in and I'm watching.
I watch too many games on silent in O-line rooms over the course of the years. It's nowhere near as fun as listening to, let's say Tirico.
Tirico's good. I mean, but there's guys that are bad that it's just like
you can mute those.
Frustrated. All right, on to Titans traveling to Miami to face the Dolphins here Monday night.
Will Levis get back in?
Yeah, Dolphins 1.5 point favorites. 36.5 points is the over under.
How are they favorites?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Head coach in this one goes the Dolphins way. Quarterback in this one, though, Titans way. Receiver backfield, give me the Dolphins. O-line a wash. Neither unit's playing anywhere near good enough football at the moment. D-line linebackers go to the Titans. That front seven's difficult still, but in the secondary, another time where neither unit's playing exceptionally well. We'll call that a wash. Tua out in this one, meeting with neurologist this week. Feels a little overdue. Like maybe you should have met with them a while back, but
I'm not sure how long you have to wait.
Yeah,
maybe how many times he has met with a neurologist.
I'm guessing, but they will decide what to do with him going forward. A lot of people calling for him to retire. We'll see ultimately what happens. But this one, just not a lot of reasons to like the Dolphins after what we saw from them and Skylar Thompson a week ago. Now, I do believe that,
and he's dinged up.
I do believe that is he?
He's got a chest. We could be looking at Snoop Huntley potentially, which, in my opinion, might give your team a better chance. He said, "My mama calls me Tyler, but all my friends call me Snoop."
So I like the Titans, and I also kind of like the over in this one because 36.5 points is what the second lowest total on the season, and now when there's 2, usually I like unders that low when the defenses are good. Because when the defenses are good, you're not going to get busted coverages. You're not going to get things of that nature that result in points. But when you watch Will Levis play, he plays a brand of football that's going to put points on the board for both either his team or the other team. He's attacking down the football field. He's throwing into windows he shouldn't, making terrible decisions that I think he's given up a touchdown to the other team every single week so far. And when that's the case, the Titans have gone over that number every week. The Dolphins have gone over that number every week, but one. I like the over in that one. I mean, it might be a slog to watch.
To your point about the sudden changes and turnovers
because of it, but
what do these teams like to do after sudden change turnovers? They like to go with these deep shots. They like to go with let's take a chance to get it all back right now. And who's better in terms of roster, in terms of personnel at being able to take the top off of defense? The Miami Dolphins. So if Will Levis does turn the football over like that, look for some quick transition points for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I like over in Titans. All right, Seahawks, Lions. Last game of the week, the final Monday night game, an actual very good game.
This is going to be awesome.
An awesome matchup, truthfully. In Detroit 3.5 point favorites. 46.5 points is the over-under in that one. One of my favorite unders of the week. These have been 2 defensive teams. As much as they have talent offensively, these are defensive teams and 2 very good defenses. The kind that just in today's NFL and how they're scheming up the defensive side of the ball that just don't get really gassed. Like it would be surprising for this game to really get too high. So I like 46.5. I like the under on that 46.5 points. Who's going to win this one? I don't have a great take because as you see there, a lot of evenly matched
I trust the quarterback more in Seattle. I trust the offensive and defensive fronts more in Detroit. And both
but
of
then
those
the secondary
units,
for Seattle is so elite right now.
both those units can dictate the game. If the secondary is elite in Seattle, let's just run behind Penei Sewell. Let's just get this backside of the line of scrimmage caved in and have some cutback opportunities. Sets up Jared Goff. And then you got guys getting nosy on the back end, and you can negate that advantage they have in Seattle by having some scheme that dictates respect for the secondary.
Yeah, the Seahawks really need Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, both questionable on whether they will play this week.
Those are big. I mean, Byron Murphy's huge. Leonard Williams is a good player. I think not as impactful right now as Byron Murphy, but you're going to need those guys. You're going to need all hands on deck when taking on this Pride of Lions offensive lineman.
So yeah, my take is the under. I think if I had to pick, let me go Seahawks.
I was going to go Seahawks, but I'm going to be the contrarian here, so I'm going to go.
You don't have to be a contrarian.
Okay, we'll go Seahawks.
We'll go Seahawks. We'll ride with the Seahawks.
I love Geno Smith, man. I think Geno Smith throws a great ball.
Yeah, that's why.
I think he's got a lot of weapons. He's got a lot of weapons. They may have good guys on the back end, but I think you have to pick your poison, who you're going to stop, and who you're going to allow to try to beat your team. And Geno's going to find that latter option.
On to our locks of the week, final segment here for the year. What are we? I think it was
not good, Cotton. Let's just move on to this week.
We'll just go to this week. I have the one I just mentioned, Tennessee, Miami over. I think my second favorite was the Seahawks Lions under, but I didn't include it here. I then have Buffalo to cover. And then my last one, I think it's wrong up there. Oh, no, I did put that one. I never adjust this one. I wanted Romeo Doubs over 38.5.
Damn.
Scratch the Buffalo 2.5, even though I like that one. Give me Romeo Doubs over 38.5 points. That's on me for not updating. Because, one, you went over that weeks 1 and 2. 2, he is their number one wide receiver right now. He's playing more snaps than anyone. If you go back and watch the week 1 tape, he was the guy running kind of like the featured routes in that offense, and he looks good this year. And he's going up against a Vikings secondary that, it's tough. They're tough to pass on. But that means if they've been, suffocated early and they get down in a hole, well, you're going to have to pass out of it. So I like Romeo Doubs over 38.5.
You know what? I got a couple as well. And I'm moving on from last week, dude. I got Houston minus 6.5, a team that's also looking to move on from last week. They got slapped in the face a little bit. They got their nose bloodied. I think they go play bully ball this week. Give me the New York Jets minus 7.5. I think they're going to get out to a fast start in this one. That'll dictate the terms of engagement. I was really impressed by Aaron Rodgers' ability not only to throw the football early in the season, but moving last week. It was great. The defense, they're going to show up again. Cincy in Carolina, look for the Andy Dalton revenge game, but just look for the over here. I'm not picking a winner here. I'm picking over 46.5. I think that these guys in Carolina are playing inspired football with that quarterback under there, the red rifle. And for Cincinnati, man, it's pick up where you left off offensively. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, pick your poison, baby. Joe Burrow, I'm not panicking on you, man. Your team has to go play football in order to win games. Give me the over in that one.
Bengals built for overs right now. All right, there you have it. There's our Thursday preview. We'll be reviewing all the games on Monday, 9:30 Eastern, as we do AM. That is every single Monday through Thursday. Like, subscribe, follow on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, keep pushing.